But Ben, your take on that as well. I mean, you have been long campaigning for the modernization, not at the expense of the tradition, but in order to sort of take it forward, what needs to happen.
Yeah, that's really the example for us to see what can be done if a sport is properly managed and commercialized. So you have, the balance between the F1 circuit, if you like, and then the teams. And for it to really work, both have to, I think, be successful.
Is there an appetite, though, within Cup world, within the sailing world, within the teams like R1 in pushing that conversation forward so that these changes do happen? Because when it happens only every 4 years...
it in Sail GP, you really see it, which is very similar to the F1 model, where we have the league that is neutrally managed effectively to operate the commercial interests of the event, the league, and then the teams, which are now independently owned, but in a franchise model. And that is really starting to get some traction commercially. The Cup has amazing history and prestige as a brand, but it doesn't have that neutral management. It doesn't have the continuity. It's like you said, it might be every 3, 4, 5 years till the next event, depending on who wins it. And I think really whoever wins this next event, or certainly in the near future, they need to sit down and get the different stakeholders together and say, right, what's a 10, 20-year vision for this event? Because again, it's got a huge amount of potential that's just not realized.
Can we talk, Toto, about the business of sport? I think you're the perfect person to have this conversation with, because you're a huge sports fan. You're massively passionate about sport, but you came into sport this way via business. Has your philosophy, your business philosophy, evolved or changed over however many years as a result of how you need to react to sport? I feel like there are so many more variables, or would be so many more variables within the sporting context, that it's not just the results thing. There's a whole other bigger piece there, especially the emotional bit. So has your sort of philosophy evolved in that way?
I think at heart, I was always a racer, was a young racing driver, couldn't afford it anymore and went into finance. And when I came back, success on track always stood more important for me by a mile, 1,000 miles, than the financial success related thereto. And I think that's the mindset you need to have. Now, obviously, we're all living in a real world, and being successful on financially is also important, particularly if you're running a sports franchise. But we were able to combine that in a way. We were more successful. We are growing the revenue side. The governing body changed the landscape by introducing a cost cap, which was good. So we were not outspending each other anymore. But what unites people with sports is the emotion, like you say, because it's in a way on a Sunday afternoon, it's the most important, not important topic. You can go into heavy arguments with competitors and fans among themselves, but on a Monday it's maybe pub talk, and it doesn't really negatively or positively affect your life, but it creates a lot of emotion, and that is something that only sports or music or theater or film can do, but you don't get that kick in an office.
And have you become sort of less or more rational with age? Because I often wonder, from a business perspective, you're making and you're basing things on rational decision making. Sometimes with sport, it's so unpredictable that, those things can go out of the window, and it's a gut instinct that takes you forward. I mean, what do you think to that?
I think gut instinct is something important, because there's more cells and neurolinks that's going up this direction and not the other way. But when you are in sports, you never change. I would give up every cent of profit for success at any time. And when you tell that to normal business people, they think you've lost your mind. You're grown up adult. You have to look after your company. What you want to achieve is solid cash flows. And then you're talking about on-track success. Who cares? But we do, because we're sports people, and the on-track success and the victory and lifting the trophy, that moment is just so much more fulfilling than just posting a profit in a P&L.
I mean, you're entering into this world, aren't you, Ben, big time with Sail GP, with Cup Life, you know, moving from being athlete to business person.
Don't change.
Yeah,
Be an
but
athlete.
but it's really
Running out
important,
of
isn't
time.
it? Because do you actually have to, bearing in mind you've got that mindset, you've always had that mindset of a professional athlete, like Toto's saying, actually that you should stick with that. That's actually a really huge advantage.
Well, you're not going to lose that mindset just because you're not necessarily competing on the water or competing in a race car. You're still competing, even if, you know, we've seen Toto a lot with the emotion of being there on the radio to the guys and everyone else in the team living that moment, even if they're not in a racing car or not on a racing boat. There's a lot goes into these organizations. It's very hard for people, I think, fans, to they look at the car, they look at the boat, to realize what goes on behind the scenes, the amount of effort required. And for anyone to work in Formula One and work in America's Cup, the hours that are required, you can't just be doing that for the paycheck. You've got to love it. You've got to have that determination to be part of a winning organization like Mercedes has been for so long. And I can understand the pain for you with the dominance and then suddenly being on the back foot. You want to be back there where you and your team deserve to be.
It's certainly the pressure is a factor, because so many people work hard for so little reward, and you got to acknowledge that we are so lucky, blessed that we're in such a situation. But we work 7 days a week, 356 days. How many days are in the year?
65 days.
300. Yeah, nine less. I work 9 less holidays. No, but we're working all day, 7 days a week. There's no day where you're not on. But it's just on the other side, I haven't worked a single day because it's what we love to do. It comes natural, and that is something which you always need to cherish, because that's not a given.
But does it feel like you're now, I mean, there's absolutely no way you sort of have the mentality of a startup, but it feels like to actually go again and to sort of come back from being out of the mix, which is, you know, where you were for a while, which probably felt, like Ben said, incredibly painful. Is it quite galvanizing to sort of say, does it create a siege mentality at a moment where it's most required?
I think you need to, what I'm trying to have a long-term perspective. And as running the team and being a co-owner, I want to look back in 20 years and say we won many championships. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we're winning every single one. And we've pushed the boundary quite far already by doing 8 in a row. So since then, we finished 3rd and 2nd. So it's not that we've completely lost it, but there was just another team which was much better. But in comparison to our other competitors, we were still more successful. Some of those competitors haven't won a championship since 15 or 20 years, we must not forget. So I'm trying to bring some kind of stability in there. And that means if we get it wrong, we will improve. If we get it wrong, we will improve. And this is a normal cycle, and we'll feel very difficult at times, but it's important to come back up. And I'm sure we will, and look back and say, that was difficult years. Sometimes you said on the siege, but it's just part of sports. You have to admit, you can't win any championship, any year, every year championship. There is no sports team in the world that won every single year they participated, unless you quit. We don't want to quit.
And also perspective, right?
Yeah, but I think, and you will get it back and you will win. I know you can't say that, but it will happen. That will be probably the most rewarding victory that you and the team have had, maybe other than the first victory.
You've had this, haven't you? I mean, you've had serious adversity with the last couple of cup campaigns, and it's bloody hard work.
It's amazing how shallow people can be.
Yeah, but you have to
to
bounce.
You know, it's not even holding back. I mean, it's literally.
Yeah.
But you have to bounce back.
Yeah, you do. So, what else are you going to do? You're going to dig your head in the sand and.
But as a leader, how important is it to step up when that happens? Because like you say, Toto, when it's all rosy and it's all great, everyone's on that journey with you. But actually, the job that you really have to do is the one in adversity. Yeah,
for sure. That's when you have to step up. I mean, ultimately, if you don't, then you're not going to be in the job much longer, I don't think. So, yeah. But it's tough because everyone's frustrated and, you know, but somehow you have to find the balance between, it can't be, it's okay, guys, we were just unlucky. There needs to be a reality check. This isn't good enough. We've got to get our act together. But at the same time, you can't throw the toys out of the pram because you won't get the best out of people. So find balance there to find.
So next few months, what do you think is going to make the difference? Because we know with F1, a season goes through a season and you have upgrades coming all the time. With the Cup, there is a similar program. You do have a program of upgrades and developmental work going on behind the scenes over it goes on for a very long time, doesn't it? Over a decent sort of 8-week period or so. So what will make the difference in the next few months to success or failure?
Really, from what I've seen, it's quite close on the water between the teams. And to answer your question, what will make the difference? Really, the teams that can continue that progression in performance across the range of wind strengths and sea states. And that's really the key to this period now. We're going to start doing some informal practice racing next month. And then we have, end of August, we have the final warm-up event. That final warm-up event will really set the benchmark of really which teams are performing when. And there's not a lot of time after that to really recover if you're on the back foot. So these next few weeks are absolutely critical.
I know what it would mean to Ben to win this thing. What would it mean to you, Toto, and the Mercedes partnership? Because there's this common phrase in the America's Cup, which is there is no second. So if we were to October the 21st or whatever it is, lift up that massive 120 kilo old mug.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Let's get ahead of ourselves. What would that feel like as a combined effort?
I think in a way you need to visualize these things also. Only when you can visualize, you can actually make them happen, but you mustn't talk too much about it because you destroy that visualization. It's so difficult. I mean, winning the Cup with the set of regulations that do exist, it's tremendously difficult. And you can see the pattern. Team New Zealand, how many times did they win it?
They're going for, they've won it 4 times now. They're going for 3 in a row.
3 in a row. You can see how difficult it is. And I think you are the underdog. We are the underdogs, if I can say we, in this project, because you're on the back foot. But it just feels good to, if I started to follow America's Cup last time around when we were trying to help out, because that's what we did, no more than this. And I'm sure that when the event starts going, I will be all in. There's not a lot more than cheering that I can do. You wouldn't
you say that, Toto. You could
after
actually
today's
jump on the
effort,
boat.
yeah, you can get on the boat now.
Exactly. Now we know we've got you lined up as a cyclist. That's it. You're done.
We'll send you a fitness program.
Yeah,
You've got
I think I can
2 months to get there. I reckon you got a shot.
I can get the peak watts, but not the endurance. Yeah. But no, I guess I will be cheering. Okay. I can give you more contribution by cheering than by being actually actively involved.
We expect nothing less. Thank you so much, both of you.
Thank you.
Join us for the Performance People podcast every week for the highs, lows, lessons and stories from people like this lot. Michael Johnson.
Some days what I would see is a person who is a shell of what I used to be.
Eddie Hearn.
We don't operate in a business that's dangerous, but we just operate in one where you've got to sleep with one eye open.
Mo Farah.
It couldn't get any harder than what I've gone through, and at that point I just went for it.
Paula Radcliffe.
You can only control yourself.
Susie Wolff.
And Toto did once liken me to a donkey.
Every Tuesday, wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello, Performance People listeners. My name is Freddie Carr and I host a podcast called the Inside Tack, which is a podcast that follows the British America's Cup team, Ineos Britannia, as we get ready for the 37th America's Cup down here in Barcelona. We also follow the youth and the first ever Women's America's Cup. We would love you to like and subscribe to our podcast. Follow us on all your social media channels as we get ready for our sporting challenge of a lifetime.